a child in this day and age is hard enough, and then we complicate things with digital, and the fact that they sometimes have more information about the online world than we do is enough to just drive us nuts, right? So let's talk about it from a couple of perspectives. Before I start, I just want to be able to talk through, or just to be able to make a disclaimer, is that this is not meant to scare anyone. Whenever we talk about digital parenting, people sometimes don't want to know or want to understand or want to hear what's going on in the world. And everyone has the right to be able to have their own views and opinions. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't really want to know about all the scary things that are happening out there, please rather just, leave the chat. It's more a case of me just giving you a little bit of information and guidelines as to what is happening out there in the world. I will attach a document to my blog. I will put all of the information on that I refer to during this live chat, and we can always then, just message up and down and DM, and you can ask me any questions that you want. So let's get started. So as I said, digital parenting is very much about just being able to parent a child who is connected. Most of our kids during the lockdown are now doing either Google Classroom or Zoom Classroom or whatever platforms they are using to be able to teach them. So obviously our children are more connected than ever before. There was a Kaspersky, Kaspersky is the antivirus people. They released a Q1, a quarter one of 2020 as at the end of March in terms of parental control and safe kids online. And it did show that at the end of March, bearing in mind our real lockdown only really started at the end of March, was that our website usage and our website visits in South Africa went up by 200%. And specifically with a focus on children. That probably included a lot of their time being spent online in terms of Google Classroom, but it also means that they are now looking for entertainment. Specifically, one of the things that they spoke about is the fact that they're online for music and music videos and that kind of stuff more and more, as well as looking for software. Now, that was an interesting one in terms of what software could kids be looking for online? But it does make you sit back and wonder exactly what is going on in a child's mind when they are with their devices and what exactly happens. So today I'm just going to take you through some basic information that is happening out in the digital world that you just need to be aware of, and then just take it from whence it comes. I'm kind of going to go all over the place and get through as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to give you some highlights on each one, and then we can take it through. If you have any questions, then just pop it onto the chat screen so that you can see exactly, or you can send me your messages and I can see exactly what it is that you want me to speak about specifically, and I'll answer you. But let's talk protection. So we are very, in South Africa especially, we're very conscious of our security and our safety. We live in gated estates or boomed off areas. We have burglar guards on our doors and windows, alarm systems, high-tech alarm systems, smart homes and devices, and all of those things. And then whatever our affordability is, we then go and buy the smartest, the most expensive device that we can afford and put it in our child's hands. 9 times out of 10, we have found where parents haven't done certain parental controls on those devices. And what use then is all the security features that you have in your home if there's a device in your home that is unprotected, because information is leaving your home and coming through to your home that you have no knowledge of. You don't know what's going on, and it's going to your child. So this becomes the most important factor around protection is protection. It's a simple philosophy, right? You've got to think about protection in the same way that you speak about online protection, in the same way that you think about offline and physical world protection. So what would be the equivalent of a gated estate online? And what would be the equivalent of burglar guards and burglar doors and those kind of things, alarm systems, high-tech devices, remote control access for our garages and those kind of things, to prevent and protect ourselves in a world that is so full of crime and nastiness. So let's look at it from that perspective. One of the things that I want to talk about, first of all, is device management. So let's talk about device management and some simple aspects to it. I must be honest, I gave, or we gave, Ashton and I, my husband and I, gave our daughter an iPad, and we were not appropriately equipped to be able to have given her a device, and we didn't know all of the things that needed to be done. And we learned a lot of lessons, thankfully not horrible lessons, but we learned a lot of lessons in the process. And one of those things is to be able to have contracts, agreements, and terms and conditions in place for those devices. So I make it sound like it's almost like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, that you've got to have a contract in place for everything. But this is one of those things that you do have to have a contract in place around, because it spurs a conversation with your children around what is it that they want to be able to do with those devices, or what is it that they are going to be doing with those devices. So when we look at it, how would we be able to have those conversations? So it's a simple thing of, I am so excited to give you this, fill in the blanks, iPad, iPhone, Galaxy, this, whatever device you are handing over. I'm so excited to give. I'm so excited as a parent to be able to know that my child is being future proofed. I'm giving you opportunities, da 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 da. The list goes on in terms of all the different things that you can say. But with this device comes rules and regulations that we would have in our home. So, there are rules and regulations that you have for your child. Don't touch this, don't do this, don't go there, don't do that unless we're home, etc., etc. Same thing. So there's rules and regulations that come with this device. One of those rules and regulations are things like time limits, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is, after this chat is over, as I said, I will pop it into my blog, and I'll put it up on a link on all of my social media platforms, in terms of what does that contract look like. So I'll give you a template. You can decide how you want to be able to use it. To each their own. But certain things like, when do you go online? How often do you go online? What time? But make them sign it, even if they're 2 or 3 years old. They must understand what that means, so that they understand responsibility from a young age. One of the things that I would like to be able to say to you as parents or as adults is, what is your digital citizenship? So what is your role modeling and your behavior like online? And how do you intend to be able to have those conversations with your kids, nieces, grandchildren, whoever it is that you're wanting to instill this into? So digital citizenship is citizenship. The one thing I want to say to you is that online and offline, the worlds are the same. It's how you do things that matter, or that are the differences. It's not different in any other way. So if you're a good citizen in the world, in your country, you abide by the rules and regulations, you pay your taxes, you don't commit crimes, you drive according to the speed limits. I have many speeding fines, but yes, you try and drive according to the speed limits. You abide by the rules, right? So digital citizenship is the same thing. It is, what do you abide by? What is digital etiquette? What are you supposed to do online? What are you not supposed to do online? What are those things that you are setting boundaries for yourself, for your home, for your children, for your parents, it doesn't matter who it is. As whoever's in your space, what are some of the things that you are doing as a good digital citizen? And how are you making sure that citizenship is upheld? As kids as young as 2, 3 years old that are on devices, you need to be able to start putting in little things in place for them to understand, no, you can't have it now. No, you can't touch that, etc., etc. So that by the time they get to a point where they understand, and they're 16, 18, 14 years old, they have good digital citizenship. They have good habits around digital. They understand the value of it and what not to do and how not to abuse it. So I think it's very, very important for us to be able to look at it within the context of our parenting. So all of us are different in the way that we parent. All of us are doing the best that we can. Oh my God, please, we're just trying to get through the day in terms of being able to be decent parents. It's about where do you fit digital into the context of that. It's not that there is one, the right way to be able to do it. It's how do you fit digital into the context of that. And what applies to your offline world applies to the online world as well. So let's talk about things like passwords. So one of the things is that a password of a child for a digital device should be known by the parents. It's the same thing like, whether you should know certain things about your child. Are there certain things that you believe that you should know about your child? This is one of those things. purely because in times of desperation, in times of need, there must be the ability to access their device if in danger. Now, the fact that you're going to use that to stalk and do all kinds of funny other things, nah, that I won't agree to. But it's a matter of understanding that they need to have a relationship with you. It's called an online safety partnership with parents, whoever is mothering and fathering that particular child. What is the partnership that you have? What is the understanding that you have of the online world? Have you sat your children down and spoken to them about, they are bad people. The digital world, the online world, technology is an amazing thing, like anything else in the world. But they are bad people, like anything else in the world. They are bad things that happen to good people. So what does that mean in terms of that partnership mentality between your child and you around how you want to be able to make sure that their experience of digital is a good one? It's safe, it's protected. How do they want to be able to behave? There's so many opportunities that the digital world brings for your children. They far outweigh the negatives. But if the negatives become a problem, those opportunities are null and void. So how do we make sure that 90% plus minus option of having opportunities first and not letting the negativities negate the experience? How do we make sure of that? So having that partnership agreement with your child around what is the value of digital, but where are the places and things that are a no-no? What are the things that don't go well, that don't sit well with me as a parent? What are the rules of your house? So is porn allowed? Is porn not allowed? What are some of the things, and I'm using an extreme case, obviously, but what are some of the things that are not allowed in your home that would apply to the digital world as well as in anything else? Passwords being one of them. So do you have access to your child's room, for example? I'm just giving you an offline versus online situation. If you have access to your child's room in your home, then it's the same thing. You should be able to have, in a case of need, in a case of emergency, you have access to your child's digital devices and those kind of things. My belief system is that there should be some kind of an agreement between you and your child around those passwords. You should know what it is. They should come and tell you if they have changed it. If they have not told you and you find out later on, then that's obviously a parenting issue. But in terms of being able to have access, passwords need to be changed every 6 to 8 weeks. You shouldn't have the same passwords all the time. You should have a pattern or a non-configured pattern that you follow. Teach your children about great passwords and about healthy passwords that don't allow people to figure it out, or AI in terms of robots or hackers being able to figure out their passwords. Teach them that so that they understand that they need to be able to have good passwords that protect them, because you are only good as a protection that you put in place. So passwords need to be discussed between parents and children and have an understanding of how healthy passwords and good passwords are a good way to be a good digital citizen that drives a particular behavior online. Parental control. So let's talk about parental control. So parental controls are very important. They've been created for a reason. We must stop getting over this fact that it's a taboo subject and I won't talk about it with my child. They are children and you have parental control. So do you have parental controls over other things in your home? For example, do you have parental control around what time they leave, what time they come back, whose house they can go to, which friend they're not allowed to go to? You have parental controls already. This is about just being able to apply it to the digital world. And that means being able to make sure that certain things, whether it's their devices, so in my belief system, and as I said, this is my belief system, everyone is different, every parent is different, but their digital devices should have parental controls put into it when you hand it over. So if you haven't done that and you want to be able to do that, a quick Google search or just DM me and I'll send you the details on how to do it, whether you're on iOS, Google, Android, it doesn't really matter. There are parental controls, content filters, what they can and can't see, what they shouldn't be notified about, what type of advertising, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on in terms of what types of things would you want your children to be exposed to and what don't you want them to be exposed to. It's a healthy way to be able to look at in terms of what is it that you actually want your child to be exposed to in terms of their age appropriate? So my definition of age appropriate for my child is completely different to yours, but it's based on your house rules. So look at it in terms of that. And then look at it in terms of how do you explore the digital world together and formulate a healthy relationship with online and digital. Being able to explore the digital world together creates such an opportunity with your child to be able to show them how the world works online. What an opportunity to be able to sit down with your child and work through various things around where to go to for what. If you have safe spaces in your home, if your home is your safe space, do you have safe spaces for your children to go to online? Have you taught them and showed them what are safe spaces online? So my daughter and I love yoga, and we love, fashion and retail. So we constantly talk about what is online, what do we talk about in terms of discussions around who saw what, who got what information out, which apps to go to in terms of this, which apps to go to in terms of that. I love meditation apps. So I'll say to her when she's having a moment, uh, go and load this app onto your phone and just go and listen to it, do it before you sleep. These are healthy relationship forming habits with digital and online. It's teaching your child that they need to use digital and online to make their lives better, to show them ways and means of being able to do that. Talk about what they have discovered, talk about what you have discovered online. What are some of your common interests? And keep them interested as much as you are interested about having good digital habits and having a good relationship and having a healthy relationship with digital and online. Don't make it this thing where I don't want to go there, I don't want to know this, I don't want to understand it, I don't care. These are important things to be able to pass on to your child as much as you pass on other things. So I love passing on cooking stuff with my daughter, and family legacies around stuff like that. But it's also important to be able to have conversations with them about the online world. Last time I checked, we touch our phones. Wait for it. We touch our phones 242 times in one day. Now, if digital and online is taking up so much time and effort in our worlds, what are we doing to make sure that it's a part of our lives in a healthy way? It's not seen as this horrible thing that's going to consume us. It's what time we spend on it. How do we limit our time? And I'm going to come to time limits now. One of the things I promised to speak about is pants. So pants, if you were around or if you had a child or like a little kid when pants came about, so pants is an acronym. It's your private parts are private. Always remember that your body is yours. No means no. The ability, what is the T? Oh my God, I forgot what the T is. I'll come back to you on the T. And is that someone is always listening. So make sure that you are able to tell somebody. So Pants was obviously created to help parents teach children how to teach them about themselves and how not to be able to become victims of things like pedophilia and that kind of stuff. But Pants is the same online. Remember, there are kids that are playing with games, and I'm going to come to gaming just now, but there are kids playing with things. There are bad people online that are trying to access these children in some shape or form. So Pants needs to be taught to them in a way where it's not only about the physical world, but it's also about the online world. We need to be able to teach them that if they're in their homes and in their rooms, it doesn't mean that they are safe completely. If you haven't put things online or you don't have those kind of restrictions, relationship issues that you have with your kids around the contracts and the agreements and that kind of stuff that you have in terms of digital. So when it comes to pants, one of the biggest things that I hear about, a lot of stories that come to me are about the fact that, we didn't think that we needed to teach them about those things online. No, it needs to be online as much as it is offline. So digital pants is very important. Being able to ensure your safety switches. So your safety switches are the things that I was telling you about, the content filters, and being able to make sure that those safety switches are there. One thing I have to say to you is that whenever there's an update, so if there's an update to Samsung Galaxy, Apple, which happens almost every week or every second week these days, make sure that you just check that your safety switches are still set to what you want them to be set to. They sometimes do get lost, And sometimes your kids, if they're old enough to know, they then remove it. So your family accounts is where it comes in to be able to monitor what your safety switches are doing, or whether they're still in place. So just make sure that you are doing that kind of stuff. You're being mindful. As much as you're being mindful in the real world, you're being mindful, right? Um, let's say things go wrong. So let's talk about it from the perspective of if things go wrong. So if things go wrong, there are a couple of warning signs, and these are warning signs that you think may just be teenagehood, but warning signs are there, and you need to know that they are there. So warning signs like your child does not want you to touch their phone. Like literally, even if you're dusting around their phone, they go ballistic. They switch their phones off. If they go to the bathroom, they switch their phone off. If they take it with them, if it's charging, they switch it off. They're very anxious about their devices. Um, let's say you get your hands on the phone and you access it, and you see duplicated apps. These are called vault apps. Vault apps are basically, they are seemingly innocent. um, I also have to say, there's a disclaimer. I also have to say that some of these vault apps are actually created for real life purposes, and they're not, horrible, funny little apps that are lurking about trying to, draw your child in or your teenager in. These vault apps, some of these apps have been created for good, but they are being used for bad. I'll give you an example of that. There's a thing called the best secret folder. Um, now, some of this is being used by people, obviously, to protect their information. Things like their bank statements, their security documents, employment letters that have got all the information on it. They put those kind of documents in there. But it's also being used by teenagers in terms of nude pics and pornography and that kind of stuff. So when you see these kind of apps, and as I said, the documents will be uploaded to my blog. You can always go and link on that. But when you see these apps, you need to then look at it from the perspective of why are they there? Why do you have? There's an app called the Calculator Plus. For all intents and purposes, it looks like a calculator. Once you put a password in, it opens up a whole world of other things. So there's all these different types of vault apps that you need to look out for in terms of exactly what is going on your child's device. Has your child cleaned their devices in the last few weeks? How and where and when was the last update? Those are some of the things that you need to be mindful of. Let's move on to gaming, because I'm not going to keep you for much longer. So gaming is the biggest thing. It is the biggest thing on the internet today. It is far bigger, aside from social media, it is far bigger than even, and I'm going to throw a stat at you, it's far bigger than even pornography, believe it or not. But it's the biggest thing on online today. And one of the biggest issues with gaming is that we assume it to be innocent completely. What has happened over the last year? So we always knew that there were chat rooms, right? When it came to gaming, no matter how unsophisticated they were before, they're very sophisticated now, and they're going to get a whole lot more sophisticated going forward. So we just assumed that, gaming would be innocent. I mean, they're playing with their friends online and that kind of stuff. That was in the world before the console became offline, and before the console itself became a smart device. So your console is now a smart device, and you should treat your child's gaming console and any other gadgets attached to that gaming ecosystem as though you would do with their devices as well as with their social media. So when you're looking at it, ask them, what does that button do? Where does this button go? What does that do? Because sexual grooming has been found to be massive in terms of online gaming, and especially in terms of all of the devices of the gaming ecosystems, where they assume that they are playing with another child. It gets to a point where there's chat rooms, there's chats, there's discussions, and there's disablement of cameras on the one side and there's enablement of cameras on the other side. It also makes it difficult for the police to be able to monitor, because they don't know the exact details of what has happened, and your child makes those decisions because, remember, they are in gaming mode. And if your child is a gamer, you will know what that means when I say they are in gaming mode. They're not thinking about anything else. They're not even thinking about eating or going to the toilet. They are thinking about gaming. So they will be caught off guard. One of the things that I want to tell you about the online world and your full frontal lobe, so your brain. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a neurosurgeon. I obviously am not. But the thing about the full frontal lobe development in understanding the world of digital and technology is something that I've spent a lot of time on and got advice from various people who are neurosurgeons and being able to position it in that context is to say to you is that remember, your child's full frontal lobe has not been developed until they be developed. And in most cases, your teenagers' full frontal lobe has not been developed. So their ability to make rash decisions is higher than ours. Their ability in terms of understanding, thinking through something, or consequence to action, they do things in real life that make you sometimes sit back and wonder and go, why would she have done that? Why would he do that? Now imagine when they are in gaming mode and there is somebody trying to do nasty stuff. They're not in their full, right senses. They don't have the ability to think. They've accepted a friend request from somebody they never really thought about, and then the consequence to action they don't really think about. So make sure that you understand a lot about the gaming that your child is involved in, and how and where and when they play the game, who they're playing with, who are these people, is a question you need to be asking yourself. Also, as a hint and as a tip to you, I would say to you, how often do you go online to check to see what is happening in the world of that game? So let's take Minecraft, for example. I'm just using as an example. Minecraft, the Pocket Edition, has a parent group or various groups on the internet around where parents can stand and chat and talk about things and be able to get involved in their child's life without actually getting involved, without even their child knowing. So do you know that? Do you know what, the latest updates, what the issues are with those games, what people are talking about? Turn on notifications on those blogs. Make sure that you understand exactly what is going on in your child's life when it comes to that gaming scenario. Gaming is taking over the world in every aspect. So it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Where do you fit into that? And how are you monitoring, measuring, and managing something that you need to be able to have knowledge and information of? It's simply just not negotiable. It's like anything else in their lives. You need to know what is going on in their lives, not necessarily in their faces, but you do need to know what's going on. So turn on notifications on some of those chat groups and rooms in terms of their particular game. Let it notify you. So you don't have to keep on going to go and research. Let it notify you so that you know exactly what's potting, so to speak. When it comes to little kids, remember, we give our phones, our devices, no judgment, honestly, no judgment in terms of using your devices as a babysitter. The world is a hectic place. We're working from home. There's lots of things going on, so no judgment. But have you ensured that every aspect of those kids' games, remember, kids' games have been created by adults. They haven't been created by kids. So have you made sure that those kids' games are safe? Do you understand everything about that kid game, and that there are no access points from another aspect or any other way that somebody is able to access? My dog is going mad, sorry. Is able to access that device through a game. Online gaming is very, very critical for us as parents because it's a form of massive entertainment for our children. So we do need to make sure that we have everything in place. We've created boundaries and we've done what needs to be done in terms of online gaming. I've given you some hints and tips and safety tips. I will post it, as I said, to my blog so that you can find on any of my social media platforms. And I just want to be able to say to you is that when it comes to digital parenting, one of the biggest issues is that trust relationship. It's a three-way trust relationship. It's between you, your child, and the digital world. It's the big bad world out there. That is how most of us see it. So we need to look at it in terms of how do we have a healthy relationship with digital with our children. One of the things I said I would talk about is how not to embarrass your kids on social media, whether it's a joke or whether it's not a joke. So one of the biggest things about embarrassing your kids or not embarrassing them is my daughter will say to me, "You do not use that picture." I have been tempted to many times because I'm that mother that will just want to frustrate her and irritate her. I have wanted to many times post a picture that she didn't approve of. But in being able to build that trust and relationship with them, these are simple things that may not seem important to you, but they're important to them. Number one. Number two, it's also about being able to understand that their world online is completely different to your world online. Your world online is probably about work stuff and family and that kind of stuff as an adult, as a parent. You're way past the stage of hobbies like clubbing and what's the latest thing out and what's the latest this and what is the latest that, but that is their world. So your ability to understand their world from a digital and online perspective is so critical right now. The ability to be able to know what your boundaries are, not in terms of as much as their boundaries, in terms of your relationship with them. That is where it comes down to. And I was saying, I was using the term not embarrassing your kids, but it's more about how to create a healthy relationship with them online and how to be able to create a healthy relationship with them with digital and online and that technology aspect. So make it a date, every week where you talk about stuff that you've discovered online. What are some of the things that you've seen and done? What are some of the things that you've done? What are the things that you've picked up on? What are some of the things that you do in order to be able to live a healthy digital life? We have a digital culture within our home. Obviously it started because, that's just my world. I'm the one normally in trouble. I have to say to you, it's not normally Talith. It's normally me in trouble. I'm normally on my phone 24/7. So if there's a digital culture within your home, your child, your children, my husband, even my dog will growl at me if I'm not giving him attention. So there is the ability to be able to have conversations around now is not the time. You shouldn't be having your phone in your hand. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. There's a digital culture that is acceptable and not acceptable in our home, and we're able to call each other out on it every which way possible. As I do this live stream, they are told not to come downstairs. They are not allowed to come downstairs and make a noise. So there's an understanding of where we all fit in. We have, because we have said to our daughter, her digital devices are open to us. That means that our digital devices are open to each other. So I have access to everyone's devices. They have access to my devices. It's a healthy relationship with devices, with online, with those kind of things. It's our culture. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just our culture. It's what works for us. So whatever works for your home, to be able to make sure that you can just alleviate some of the pressure of having to parent in a digital age where they know more than you do. One of the critical things, and I want to end off on this, is one of the critical things that I want to be able to say to you is that when you have those contracts and partnerships and conversations and agreements in place around digital management in your home, they will take it more seriously if you take it more seriously. So one of the things that I have a philosophy about is that I am always one step ahead. She may know stuff that I don't know, and I'm willing to accept that I don't know because you can't know everything. But it doesn't mean that I won't know it forever. And it doesn't mean that I don't know what's going on. So I'm always looking. I've set up notifications on Net Nanny, on that kind of stuff, where I know what is the next bad thing, what is the next good thing, what is happening out there, and that I'm always one step ahead in terms of I take this seriously. So if I take this seriously, when I say to you, you are not allowed to have your phone, you're this, you're that, you're not allowed to have it past a certain point, I am taken seriously because nobody will mess with me. Why? I know and I'm ahead of the game. So, like with anything, I suppose, one of the biggest things is that our children assume that we don't know what's going on from a digital perspective. you have to equip yourself with information and knowledge that allows you to be one step ahead of them and being able to understand that. My daughter knows I'm one step ahead of everything. It's not like I hide it from her. It's a matter of saying to her, this I take seriously as part of yours and my relationship. And it's about being able to understand that digital could be that distractor in your home. And how do you then start to create healthy relationships between you and your child around the digital environment? The digital environment has got so many opportunities for them. Right now, as we speak, Google Classroom, Zoom Classroom, whatever classrooms they're on online, it's equipping them for the future. It's making them into future-proofed human beings. These are the people that are going to be our future leaders. They're going to be our CEOs, our ministers in government, and our leaders. And they are getting a life lesson from a digital and technology perspective. What an amazing time in their lives. But by the same token, like everything else, we need to be able to measure and monitor ourselves in every aspect of it so that our children have a healthy relationship with digital in every possible way, and that it's something that they embrace and not something that they see as a point or a bone of contention between the two of you, number one, or something that they feel that they need to hide from you, their relationship or their activities online, they need to hide from you, or the fact that they believe that they shouldn't be there, because that would be a travesty to be able to let them think that the digital or technological world isn't a place for them. It's a horrible, dark place. It is a great place like anything else. There are horrible, dark people that do horrible things. And that is the relationship that we need to be able to drive with our children. Um, thank you for joining me today. It was a Mother's Day gift from me to you. It was just some really basic information and tips, and I will send you guys some links, and I'll put up some of the Vault apps that you can use for actual, secure to keep your information secure. But also understand that people use things not the way they were intended to be used. They use them for bad, and how we monitor these things in our child's life is very, very important. So we need to be able to ensure that we know what is happening in the digital world. You don't have to know everything, but just make sure that you understand your child's relationship with the digital world, your relationship with the digital world, and where that intersects, and how that third aspect of the digital world is in our lives. As I said, for those of you who didn't hear me, we touch our phones 242 times on average in a day. Now, if we're touching our phones on average 242 times in one day, how much of our lives are spent online, and how much of our children's lives are spent online as we are working from home, as we're hoping that they're keeping themselves entertained, and as much as we can make sure that they are safe and secure, that while you're sitting and doing your Zoom meetings and working from home, that you know that upstairs or downstairs or wherever they are, they're sitting watching Netflix, playing games, doing their gaming, whatever it is that they're doing, that 100% that they are safe and they're secure, and they're making sure, and you trust that they're making sure that they're keeping themselves safe and secure from horrible people. So we just need to make sure that we give them the tools, we provide them with the information, we have the information ourselves to be able to provide them with, to say to them, did you know this? Did you know that? So depending on your parenting style, as I said, all of us are different. We're all just trying to make it in this hectic world. We're all just trying to be half decent parents. None of us, are 100% perfect, and that's perfectly fine. It's a matter of how do you fit the conversations and the world of digital into your parenting style, into your parenting techniques. What is off limit? What is not off limits? What contracts do you have in place? What agreements do you have in place? So, for example, in terms of the agreements, I said I would come back to that, is that we agreed between Tanith and us that I wouldn't put a time limit on her devices, because I trust that she knows, because we've got to be able to make sure that she understands her own boundaries. Otherwise, in life, how is she going to get anywhere? So we have, and that's our culture, it's our home, it's our parenting style. It may be wrong. It's just what works for us right now. Um, if she goes over those limits, and remember, I have ways and means, like you do, we have ways and means of being able to check how much time they spend on screen time. And if they bypass that, then there's consequences to action, like anything else. So parenting is parenting. It's no different. It's just, where does the digital world fit in? If your child is the kind that forgets themselves online, they may not necessarily be intentionally, delinquent with screen time. They may just forget themselves online, like you do forget yourself online every now and again. Then put those time limits in place. I have a question for you. Do you have a time limit on your devices as adults? Because it may not necessarily be for their reasons, but here's the issue. You need to not be on your phones 24/7 unless you really have to be, because of all the negative effects of being on your devices, right? So do you have time limits on your devices so that you actually stop, breathe, walk, do what needs to be done as human beings? So do those kind of things, role model it for yourself. I get shocked sometimes because of the amount of time that I spend online. I then have to go back and look to see what percentage of my actual time is spent online and what time is dedicated to work, which is probably about 90% of it, just because it's the way my life works. But what I'm saying to you is that if we want to pass on judgment and pass on rules, regulations, contracts, agreements, whatever it is that you want to do you have those things in place to make sure that you are a good digital citizen and you have a healthy relationship with digital and online? And I was going to go, but now I'm getting questions. So, and I'm getting questions on the other platforms that some of you can't see. Um, is that no? Why should you? So the whole thing is not about why should you. We have freedom of choice. We have freedom of movement. We do as we want to. But the point is that it's about digital health and it's about digital detoxes and those kind of things that exist for us to be able to live healthier lives and have a healthy relationship with digital. So we could be having the same conversation about food. Do we have a healthy relationship with food? Do we have a healthy relationship with, family members? Do we have a healthy relationship with water? Do we have a healthy relationship at work? We could be having this discussion about anything in terms of healthy relationships, but we don't think about digital like that because it's something that is just there all the time. So we don't feel we need to enforce or hold ourselves back. But it is important to have a healthy relationship with digital, or you will find yourself either being consumed by it, hating it, etc., etc. The list goes on, as in all things relationship wise. So, in order to be able to just have a healthy relationship with digital, you do need to have limits in place. As with everything, you need to have, boundaries and limits. So digital is one of those things as well. It doesn't mean because you're an adult that you shouldn't be having those limits, or it's for your own health. So obviously, whatever you do with your own health is up to you. But I'm saying, in context of your relationship with your children, in terms of relationships with digital, what are your habits, and what habits are you passing on to your child, that you feel? So it's one thing to say to them, "You can't." What do you have? So that's the point. That was the point of the discussion, is about how do you parent in a digital age. How are you? You are a digital parent. I'm a digital parent. We're all digital parents. If our child is connected, even if they're connected on your device, even if they're 2 or 3 playing games, are connected, which means that you are a digital parent. And what are you doing about it, and how are you managing that situation? So there's actually a lot out there in terms of information. Google searches will give you lots and lots of information. It's more about how you want to be able to use that information in terms of having that healthy relationship with digital. So it was so lovely to have you all on my first live stream. I'm so glad you came and I wasn't talking to myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for showing up. I'm very grateful. I will never forget this, I promise. So thank you very much. And then just DM me anything that you want to know about, anything regarding all of the things that I was talking about today. If there is anything specific that you want to understand regarding the digital parenting or the Vault apps or the online gaming stuff or whatever it is that I spoke about today, then just message me and I'll come back to you. I shouldn't be always online, but I will come back to you as and when we can. So if there is anything, then just DM me. Otherwise, yeah, we shall meet on the digital waves. It was nice to have all of you. Thank you so much and take care.